So, as you can see, these are some unusual topics, and yet there's kinds of discussion that you can start with these sorts of things. And when you start seeing the commonalities among people, it often gives you a place to start that conversation. So, if you're short of words, there are some ideas that you might consider that you have prepared when you come to these types of events. So, what brought you here today? What did you think of the speaker? Would you have any insight or advice on? I've never been to this event. Any tips on what to expect? What are the best sessions here? I normally feel awkward at these kinds of things, but I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone, so I thought I'd say hello. And I promised myself I'd have 2 conversations with new people today. Do you mind being one of them? I mean, who could say no to that? Okay, really. And if you want more ideas, um, this is a website that can give you some additional thoughts on that. But it's good to have a few things in mind, that you want to start with when you are going out into a networking session. So if you've got a few things prepared, it probably will elevate your confidence a little bit and make you feel like jumping in there a little more quickly. Okay, so some networking essentials. This is something I want to talk with you about. This is absolutely vital. So, what happens when you run into the CEO of your dream company, or that professor whose lab you just would kill to work in, and you have that 30 seconds in an elevator to just give them that brief little snippet of who you are and why they might want to talk with you. This is essential that you have this prepared. It should be automatic what you want to say. So, so it should be clear, concise, interesting, and relevant. Okay, it should answer who are you, what do you do, and why are you here, or why are you actually conversing with this person at hand. But you will never, ever, ever ask for something. That's not what this is all about. So our assignment for this course is for you to develop your 1 minute elevator speech, or it could even be less than 30 seconds. It's very, very brief. So think a little bit about what you would like to say to that person whose lab you might want an opportunity in. So you're going to prepare that, and you're either going to write it in the template, the elevator speech template that you have, or if you prefer, you can record a video. And we're going to upload that to the discussion board under elevator speeches on Canvas. And that will give an opportunity for us to share with each other and possibly get some feedback and some input from your peers, because they will be able to read what you've put down, or watch your videos. Okay, so that should be done by the start of class next week. So that is your challenge. Assignment 4, create your elevator speech and share on the discussion board prior to next week's class. So let's go into the next part here, which is networking tips. So before you go to an event, you probably want to think about what you're going to do, who you're going to talk to potentially, and what you might say. So it's all in the preparation. So maybe you can even find out who's going to be attending and target 1 or 2 people who with whom you would really like to have a conversation. Again, review the attendees if possible. Review in terms of preparation. You can review your resume. That's a good place to get started. Remind yourself of the types of experiences that you've had, not just your work experiences, but your volunteer experiences. And also, if you happen to be an athlete or a musician or an artist, or you're an active community member or part of clubs on campus, These are all things. Remind yourself of all the things that you're bringing to the table so that you can have those at the ready. Really be aware of your strengths and skills, and rehearse your key points. So definitely make yourself approachable. Okay. So remember, you're not the only one looking for connections. And the thing is, you want to make people look like they might want to speak with you. So, if you're staring down at your phone or at the program, that's probably not going to make the connection that you need. Sometimes wearing a conversation piece can be helpful. So maybe it's a brooch or an interesting tie, something that stands out and is a little unique. So people may remember you. You don't have to wear a clown wig and a clown nose for people to remember you, but you could certainly do something to make yourself stand out. And get others to talk about themselves. That's the best trick of networking. You ask the questions and then listen to them, because you are gaining all sorts of intel on that person and why they're attending here. And then again, you may establish some commonalities. Okay. So yeah, and then all is lost in terms of your networking efforts if you do not follow up. So if you promise something to someone or promise to make a connection, follow through, okay? If someone gave you their card or email or cell phone, make sure you continue that connection. Even a quick email just to say how nice it was to meet them, maybe mention something that you talked about. And if appropriate, maybe suggest some next steps. So I'd love to learn more about the work that you do, or I'd love to have a visit to your lab and meet with some of your graduate students. Certainly you can look people up on social media and you can connect on LinkedIn, okay? And it's okay, but make sure you send a note and say, hey, really nice meeting you last night at the, meet the professor night. I really appreciated the time. So make sure you make a connection of who you were. And also, if you can remember, talk about something that you talked about. So in case they've talked to 100 different students in that day, try to fine tune it into something that was unique to you. So there are some other networking tips that are especially helpful for introverts. Trust me, I'm one of those people, as soon as the lecture is done, I'm sort of got my head down, heading for the door. And I'm going to tell you one just silly and funny story about this and how, we all have our fears. So a year or so ago, the Science Society was holding their annual Quantum Leap conference, and they had asked me to come and do 2 workshops on networking. So one in the morning, one in the afternoon, different groups. Okay. So it was February. There was a snowstorm that day. I was stressed getting there. It was a lot. I had a huge lecture hall of people, and this is a very, very interactive session. So it took a lot of my energy, a lot. And so it went well. The event is over. We break for lunch. So what do? I go grab my lunch and I sneak back into the lecture hall and sit down at the lectern because I needed to regroup and I needed to start thinking about the afternoon. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I'm the worst role model possible. Here I am talking about networking, and I can't even bring myself to network with these students and the people who are attending. So I picked up my lunch and out I went into this giant noisy concourse and had lunch. And I had a lovely lunch and met nice, great students. But the thing is that that's my natural instinct. I have to fight it and overcome it in order for me to successfully network with people. It really takes a lot of my energy. So some helpful hints if you are an introvert: bring a friend, so that way you've always got someone to talk with, even when you're feeling awkward and that everybody's looking at you and thinking that you're weird. Talk with your friend, okay? Volunteer at the event. I mentioned before, this is a really good way of just naturally starting conversations, right? Because you need to speak with people to give them orientation to what's happening for the day. Attend events with busy activities. So things that, you're creating stuff or doing things with your hands, or maybe, in activities, sometimes you go to a conference and there's a city tour. So things that don't necessarily require a conversation. And yeah, and then sometimes some activities have less daunting kinds of social events. Maybe it's a trivia night or something like that. So you can be a part of it and be your individual self, but you can still start establishing those connections in kind of a safe environment. So some networking mistakes, absolutely. So monopolizing conversations, not letting anyone else near the professor that you want to talk to, okay? Waiting to network until you're looking for a job. This is a big one. You should be connecting and having conversations with everybody you meet. You should not have an ulterior motive, because if you do, it puts a dishonesty and a disingenuousness into the conversation. So you need to establish your network before you start making the ask, even though ultimately that's possibly in your future. You may be asking this person for something, for a reference, for a job, for a volunteer opportunity, but you do not do it when you're starting the relationship. Okay. So being arrogant or overly confident, it's a fine balance. Of course, you want to be confident, but you just don't want to show that arrogance side of confidence. Dismissing people who don't look important. Okay, you don't know who's important. We all have different ways of presenting ourselves and dressing, and age doesn't mean anything. And again, how we present ourselves, we could be anyone. So do not discount anyone as being someone who may not be a valuable part of your network. And never ask for something before you start building the relationship. Okay, that really is vital.